What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back doing another preview video for round 5 of the World Cup. This one is for Wales versus Georgia. An exciting game going on this weekend, mainly because, of course, it's only about a year ago since Georgia actually won this fixture over in the Principality. I remember watching that game and being pretty disappointed in the Wales team, but felt pretty joyous for Georgia getting such a big win on their cards and really trying to help push them towards wanting to play the tier 1 sides more and play some of those bigger fixtures. I thought it was a massive bonus for them. So as we do in these preview videos, of course, we're going to have a run through of the team sheets that have been announced, give our thoughts on the teams, on how we think the game might go, and of course, give that all-important score prediction. If you enjoy this style of video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because it really does help show your support for the channel. So Wales versus Georgia. Wales are classed as the home team in this one, so we'll start off by talking about Wales first. Now, Wales didn't play last week, but the week before, of course, we saw that immense game versus Australia. One of the best performances I've seen from a Wales team for a long time. Just felt professional, felt organised, felt like they put all of the pressure on the Australian team, and Wales just reaped the rewards from that game. And in doing so, allowed them to, stay at that top of the table. They've probably beaten their 2 hardest games, I would say, with Fiji and Australia, with no disrespect to the rest of Pool C, because some of the other competitors in Pool C have been brilliant. But I would say Fiji and Australia were their 2 main tasks to overcome in order to get through to the quarterfinals, which they've already definitely got through to. Probably one of the least pressured teams going into this round, because they already are in the quarters. It's just whether they're going to be finishing first or second in the table and what have you. So taking a look at the team that's been announced for this one then. Now, this is actually a slightly bigger team than I was expecting. I was expecting more like a team that we saw play Portugal, where you'd have to say it was like a bit more of a B team Wales. There's a decent sprinkling here of some top players for Wales, so we'll have a bit of a run through. They may be considering Georgia and that game that happened last year and people's expectations going on to this one. I can actually see this game going a lot like the Wales-Italy game in the Six Nations, because of course Italy beat Wales last year as well in the Six Nations. It came around to this year's Six Nations. People were like, oh, Italy are going to be a big cause for concern in this one, and Wales just stepped it up a bit just to cement, no. We had a bad year that year. We've much improved for this one. I can see this one being another one of those types of games. I can see 3 points coming in. I can see them wanting to get quite a few tries on the scoreboard just to try and cement that game that happened last year. We forget about that. We move on, and this is the next game versus Georgia. So a bigger team than I was expecting, but I'm glad to see it, and it shows obviously the respect towards Georgia and what they can bring to this game. Starting out in the front row, Gareth Thomas, Dewi Lake, and Tom Francis. Now, Dewi Lake, for all the positives that I say about him, his line-out throwing is a bit of a concern. The line-out for Wales generally has been a concern for quite a while. The line-out, just throwing the ball in, is something that is beginning to impact this Wales team. They have got good locks in the form of Will Rowlands and David Jenkins going in for this one. Adam Beard, not even playing in this game, been rested for this one before they go on to the quarterfinals. But Dewi Lake is the one I'll be watching most closely in this game in terms of just making sure you cement those line-outs. Maybe you get away with it against a team like Portugal, or if you were playing some of the other teams that might be struggling a bit at the set piece. You get through to those quarterfinals, it's looking like Wales could go on to play England, Japan, or Argentina. Probably, by the way, those games are going to work themselves out. And there's some big jumpers in terms of their lineouts as well, so you've got to nail those lineouts before you get onto those quarterfinals and beyond, because the other half of the World Cup's looking horrendous in terms of trying to compete at the lineout. So I don't really want to be chucking the Wales throws in against some of those teams. In terms of the back row then, Aaron Wainwright, Tommy Rafael, and Talupe Faletau. So no Jack Morgan in this one. The boy deserves a rest. He's played every single game so far, even the game he wasn't meant to play against Portugal, and still came on. I think got man of the match in that game. He had a phenomenal game. But Tommy Rafael going in now, big shoes to fill in the open side flanker. Talupe Faletau still playing at 8 is interesting. I thought maybe they would just want to keep Faletau a little bit safer to get through to those quarterfinals. Maybe put Aaron Wainwright in at 8, and you could play like Tommy Rafael and maybe Tane Basham alongside them. They've gone for some big guns though, so again, fingers crossed injury concerns wise for Wales. Now the forward pack here, we'll be looking to get involved. The set piece last week or 2 weeks ago now against Australia looked a little bit shaky to begin with. By the end of that game, they were running the Australian scrum over, which is something I was absolutely not expecting. Georgia are a big scrummaging team, and, you know, Australia had a good competition against Georgia in terms of the scrummaging. Wales might feel kind of confident because Georgia haven't necessarily seemed as on point as I've wanted to across this tournament, so they might think they've got a big opportunity there. But the backs is where I really feel like a strength is going to be lying for this Wales team in terms of the attack. In the halfback partnership, Thomas Williams and Gareth Anscombe are going to be starting off in this game. Gareth Anscombe coming on last week, of course, because Dan Biggar picked up his injury against Australia. Gareth Anscombe came on, ran the show brilliantly. I was very, very impressed by him. Got man of the match in that game. Looked awesome the whole way through, kicking over points for fun. Didn't get them all, but, you know, when you have 40 points in the clear, like, it didn't really matter that much. But he does have a relatively decent percentage overall, but is around the park kicking was where he really came into it. Of course, we got to see the Nick Tompkins try, that little chip kick over the top, which again, I think might come in quite useful against the way the Georgian defence plays and how fast they can get up off the line and they rush and sometimes leave a bit of a dogleg defence. You get those little chips over, suddenly somebody's away once you get that kick over the top. In terms of the centre partnership, Nick Tompkins goes back in alongside of George North. This is the centre partnership, probably the best centre partnership, I would say, now in Wales with what Gallen's been playing with. So again, showing that respect in the centre partnership, going for the big players. Nick Tompkins, like we already mentioned, getting that try. George North will be looking for some big carries. Mason Grady is on the bench for this one. I did think maybe Mason Grady would get the start in this. Maybe they would play Nick Tompkins alongside of Mason Grady, or they might just swap out Nick Tompkins and George North for this one. But again, you know, big team coming in, but again, those injury concerns maybe a little bit worrying. But defensively, George North has been absolutely brilliant across this tournament. So maybe some of those Georgian players, we saw it against Portugal, we saw it against Fiji for Georgia. Sometimes they could just break that line. Iniashvili just gets on those counter runs. You need someone good on the scramble defence, and it is where George North has been looking pretty solid. And then finally, in the back three, Rio Dyer, Rhys Sammet, and Liam Williams taking the back three for this game. Out of all of them, Rio Dyer has probably been the one I've been least sort of impressed by in terms of this back three. But hopefully a game where we can get Rio Dyer on the field, you know, have a bit of pace on the game and sort of show off what he offers in terms of attack. Because defence for me still a little bit lacking. When he's got the ball in his hands, you know, he's running hard. He's got a good, attacking threat, and spreading it wide against Georgia might be one of the better ways just to avoid their forwards and put pressure on those wings. In terms of the substitutions, then Elliot Dee, Nicky Smith, and Henry Thomas coming in. Now, this is potentially a bit more of what I was expecting to actually be starting. Dewi Lake, I think, is probably a good opportunity to get him on the field, boost that confidence a little bit in terms of that throwing. I did think Henry Thomas might get a look in for this one, actually, in terms of starting. But again, Georgian front row in the scrum, you don't want to start losing that in the first couple of minutes and then be put on the back foot for the rest of the game. Maybe they've gone for a bit of a slightly bigger front row in order to just cement that they are there to compete at the scrum. Don't give the referees any ideas. Paint the good picture for them. And then you can bring on some other lads later on to get a bit of a time on the field. In terms of the rest of the placement forwards, then, Chris Schuser goes in alongside Tame Basham. This is a good choice for me, actually, here. Chris Schuser, of course, can play lock or flanker where you need him to. Out of everyone in that team, I would maybe like to see him come on for Will Rowlands. Just, again, thinking about, you know, the future games going into the quarters and stuff. I think I would like to see him come on that 4 shirt. Maybe 50 minutes in, 55 minutes in, give him some good game time as well, and just make sure Will Rowlands is going to be, you know, absolutely sound for the quarterfinals, because he has been playing well over the course of this tournament. And then in the replacement backs, Gareth Davis, Sam Costello, and Mason Grady. I actually think this is quite a nice mix-up as well. I think Gareth Davis coming on with Costello is a good move. Gareth Davis for me is outperforming Thomas Williams, and he would be my first choice scrum half at the minute. So I think mixing it up again for this game is nice. Give Thomas Williams some time with Gareth Anscombe, and then let Gareth Davis come on a little bit later with Sam Costello, who I think sometimes can feel the pressure of these big games. So I think bring Gareth Davis on at the same time as him, help him run that ship a little better is a good move. Mason Grady at centre, interesting choice. Again, I think maybe here I would have started Mason Grady for this one and kept one of the centres looking, you know, fit and healthy, ready for future games. Maybe I would have swapped out George North and Mason Grady here. Let Mason Grady play the bulk of the game. You can bring George North on later if there's an injury. You could also put him on the wing where he used to play, or maybe looked at someone like Josh Adams on the bench, because he's played a bit of centre as well. He could also cover the wing in case the game isn't going your way at all, maybe for a bit of longevity. But of course, they could still do those switches on the fly. If there's an injury to wing, I assume George North's moving to the wing and Mason Grady's going on at centre. Fullback might be the only real concern. I'm not sure who's going to step in. I feel like if Liam Williams gets injured early on, it might have to be Gareth Anscombe moving to fullback and bring Sam Costello on to try and make that switch up. But of course, that would come with quite a bit of a change in terms of the team dynamics and stuff. But overall, it's a really solid looking Wales team. It's better than I was expecting it to be honest. Not looking quite as much as the B team as I was expecting, which is nice to see. In terms of their opponents then, Georgia last week played Fiji in a game that just did not go their way. They looked very positive in a lot of different areas in that game, but one of the things that's still plaguing them is just the ability to convert territory and possession into tries. They seem to struggle so much with that final 5% in just getting over and actually scoring those tries and putting big points against the other team. Getting those penalties is fine. They had some solid kicks last week. The attack looked good against a Fijian side that looked to be struggling in quite a few areas. But just getting over and scoring those 7 points compared to taking a 3 points here and there is such a big blow for this team. And sometimes that's where games can get away from. That's what I want to see from this game from Georgia, is being able to convert it into the full 7 points rather than being stuck in the opponent's 22, going on multiple attacks and just sort of coming away with 3 every now and again. In terms of the team then, as I sort of mentioned in that preview video for the Fiji-Georgia game, the team coming into this round actually looks a little bit bigger for me. So they might look to be a little bit more impressive. In terms of this front row then, Gogiashvili goes in alongside of Mamukiashvili and Gigiashvili as well. So Gigiashvili, the only remaining forward from that game that went up against Fiji, and this for me is a better front row than one we got to see against Fiji. And they will be looking to put pressure on the Wales scrum. It's a really solid front row. In terms of the lock department, then Chasevilli goes back in alongside of Mika Taudze. Oh my goodness, what a game that lad had. What a phenomenal game. He was up there for potentially man of the match for me in terms of the Georgia game last week. It was either him or Niniashvili. Mika Taudze is an absolute monster. So looking forward to see him retaining this team. And then in terms of the back row, exactly the same as what we got to see against Fiji last week. Jalagonia as well, another one who was running very hard with the ball in hand, getting some big tackles in himself. In terms of the halfback partnership, Lobjanidze goes back in alongside of Matt Carver, which I think worked well enough for them. I'm still personally preferring Avjandadze over Matt Carver at the minute, but that can still change. We still got this one game left for him to try and impress me a little bit more. Not that he cares at all. Why would he care from me? But I want to see a little bit more from him. There's just something about Avjandadze that brings a little bit more attack for me in terms of this Georgian team. But we'll see how he gets on. In the centre partnership then, return of Sharakadze coming in as captain. I said in the last week's preview, I don't remember reading a Georgian team without him in the side. It's nice to see him going back in alongside of Kvelzladze, whose name I still struggle with. It might be one of the hardest names in this Georgian team for me to pronounce personally, but I do try my best, guys. Give me a pinch of salt when I try with some of these names. And then finally in the back three, Niniashvili goes back in along with Tabu Taudze, and Kumaladze will be coming in over Murabadze, who was playing last week in that fullback shirt. Now, there's maybe a little bit of a talking point here. I personally would prefer to see Niniashvili play fullback. I think he was more impressive when we got to see him playing at fullback and going on those counter-attacking runs against some of the other teams. Wales, I've sort of shown in that Australia game, they're more than happy to kick, they're more than happy to try and pin you back. I think someone like Niniashvili, who goes on a counter-attack run from a fullback position when Wales are going to be kicking over the top, is a better opportunity for Georgia to get back on the front foot than someone who might receive the ball at the back and just kick it back down the field or kick it into touch and actually give that territory back up to Wales. I think Niniashvili would be a bigger threat, and maybe Wales would hold off a little bit more on their pressing attack after a kick. I think that might have been a better move for them. And going up against the winger over there, of course, he's got Zammit on his wing. So, pacey player, that is Niniashvili, but maybe someone a bit faster than him is Reece Zammit. So defence is going to be tested a lot in this one. Not saying he's got bad defence at all. He's a solid player in terms of his defence, but we'll need to keep an eye out for what Reece Zammit brings from basically anywhere in terms of just a little run by himself, a little chip over the top or what have you. And then in terms of the bench, quite a lot of changes going on here. Abuladze and Apsiori will be the only retaining front rows from last week coming into to this one. Avjandadze, Aprazidze is the halfback replacements as well, and then Tepladze come on some point in that second half. Now Tepladze was playing outside centre last week, and I thought had a pretty good game, to be fair. I might have looked to put him alongside of Sharakadze for this one, but it's not the way they've gone for it. But we'll see how they all get on in that second half. So in terms of how we think this game's going to go then. Well, Georgia are most likely going to be looking to go through those forwards again. What I want to see from this Georgian team is getting tries. I actually want to see them get over that. Wales haven't got a great deal of pressure from them. They know they're going through to the quarterfinals. It's just going to be about that, you know, their final placement and the momentum they carry into the quarterfinals. So Wales probably will be happy with a win from this game. Like, they'll maybe just take the 3 points if they're on offer and just see it out the game. They don't really need to go above and beyond for this one. So I'm sure if the tries come along, they'll be taking them. They'll be trying to find the different areas to work on. The line-out's the key area for Wales to work on for me, and the try scoring from Georgia will be the big one for me, because apparently they've got a bunch of kickers that can kick from miles away. Niniash really was showing off for the kicking last week as well. But I just want to see Georgia being able to complete all that energy, all that attack, all that territory. I want to see them get over for tries in this game. They'll probably be trying to use the set piece as a platform. This may actually be one of the best games for Wales to finish off on before they go into the quarterfinals, mainly because Georgia can be so solid at that set piece. This is a great testing platform from Wales to make sure they're hitting all those set pieces right. In terms of a score prediction, I'm seeing Wales taking this one. Like I said sort of at the start of the video, I see this one going very similarly to how we saw Wales-Italy in the Six Nations, and Wales doubling down a bit on this game, just to sort of say, yeah, we lost that game last year, we've come back better, we've come back stronger, and we're going to cement out this win. So I'm going to say a Wales win for me, and I'm going to say 20. That's what I'm going to go for, guys. But of course, drop down in the comment section your thoughts on both the teams and the score prediction as well, because I always enjoy having a read through them. And of course, there's going to be a bunch of other preview videos out on the channel, so make sure you check them out too for all the games, as well as some reviews coming out on the weekend as well, because we've got some massive games going on this week. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.